Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this episode is actually going to be just a little bit later than normal, simply because I am going to re-record it because I kind of wanted to go over this conversation and kind of review a few things and kind of focus a little bit more in certain areas, and also gives me a chance to recheck the old audio layer, if you know what I mean, from last week's episode. But the skill system. The skill system is the point of this video, and it is kind of what I wanted to talk about. Now, oh my god, Star Citizen's an MMO now, blah, 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 blah. No. You're not going to be going to Lorville to pick up your skill book to learn Heavy Assault Gunship 5. You're not going to be going to get your Shiv rank 6 at Grim Hex, from the trainer. This isn't your dad's skill system in this game. What CIG is proposing, from what they've said, is an incidental skill system, which is, you're walking around with a lot of weight, you get slightly better at carrying weight. You're running around a lot, you get slightly more stamina before you kind of wear out. Maybe your hands are a little bit steadier if you're running and then having to fire a gun. Something that they had mentioned before, I believe it was Chris Roberts several years ago, had mentioned something about that. Things like climbing a ladder, a takedown being a smoother animation, possibly a little bit stealthier, a little bit of a bonus. But you have to remember that we are talking about Star Citizen here, and so when the devs say, you might, if you die, you might lose a little bit out of that skill, this isn't like, oh man, I've been farming iron all day, and I've been learning my blacksmithing, and then I got killed in a PvP battle, and I lost my recipe for the dark iron hammer or whatnot. It's not like that. This will be, it'll knock you back probably a few stages. I think this will be very, very light touch, because ultimately, as much as CIG likes the idea of world PvP, Star Citizen is not really fertile ground for world PvP, and not, for the reasons like the flight model changes that we talked about before. But because Star Citizen is an inherently unreliable game, and most online games are kind of sketchy. In the early days of EVE Online, when we would get into big fleet battles, it would be entirely normal to jump through a jump gate and then just be greeted by a black screen for 10 minutes and then receive a kill mail notifying you that your ship and everyone aboard, including yourself, perished valiantly in a battle that you did not see. Right? And that's the thing with online games, where players can lose items, lose characters, lose skills and stuff like that. I don't think that CIG is going to go too hard with these skills. They're going to be incidental little bonuses, small, flavorful little bonuses. They're not going to be, oh man, I've got to go and I got to level this up, otherwise I'm not going to be as good as that guy. He might be able to take a few more G's than you, but overall, I think when you die and you come back out of your cloning pod, you're probably going to be in, maybe you've lost, let's say you have a 15% bonus. If you're maxed out, a 15% bonus to the amount of G load that you can sustain for X amount of seconds, you might lose 2.5%. That's where I would predict. That's a Minion Soldier prediction, where this would kind of come in. This is kind of how this would feel. This is what this is what I see on the distant horizon. This isn't going to be like, I need Quantum Engineering 5 so that my ship travels 25% further or faster, or my ship's engines can deal with more heat. It's not like that. And so the panicking over losing skills is not really a thing, and Star Citizen isn't a game that would fundamentally support that, because the game is so unreliable to begin with and continues to be unreliable. I mean, remember several months ago when all of a sudden it's like, we got 100 players on a server, and everyone's like, well, this is it, it's done. It's like, slow down there, Chief. a closed test of 100 players is not a live gaming universe supporting 100 players. And I love the enthusiasm over 100 players, but when you consider the fact that this is not a sharded universe in the sense of what realm are you on, or what version of the universe are you on? Are you on Shadowforge or Starforge or, Faralina or whatever? Everyone together in one universe, 100 people on one server is not, break out the champagne, fellas. We've cracked the code. It's like, that's adorable, but no. We're far, far from where we would need to be to really be able to even put in a skill system that you could lose on death, because I think they would just have to put in a hard bar. Like, once you level it up to a certain point, there's a cutoff to where you can fall backwards, and so you're always kind of moving up, and when you do fall backwards, it's not all that bad. Once you're there, you're kind of there. You know what I mean? At least that's how I would implement it in the environment that we are in. And in all honesty, as reliable as this game could be, because there are AAA titles that support less players that have for years struggled getting over 100 or 200 players into the same area. And yes, I know people will link me the video of, here's the test of this game, here's the test of that game. They were able to get 1,000 simulated players, walking around in an environment. And yes, they were, but show me an environment with gameplay, with bullets flying each and everywhere, with each player wearing a different variation of an outfit and a different customization on their character, and show me a computer that can load all of that up and keep that going at beautiful, buttery smooth frame rates. And I would say that happened in a dream. It's not that easy. Oh, just get better servers. Yeah, people have been saying that for years, and it turns out, strangely enough, the physical universe has certain limits. So I think that it is going to be a very light touch incidental skill system. It's going to be some nice bonuses to have, but they aren't going to be critical, absolutely critical to your performance. And being able to maintain them at the highest level is simply going to be your reward for being a good player and for not getting your ass shot off all the time, or flying yourself into an asteroid. As tends to happen sometimes. So, yeah, it's more of a wait and see thing. I realize that some people are kind of like, no, and no, this is a wait and see thing. This is chill, let's see what they do thing. And I would like to say that I'm very happy with the fact that CIG is talking to us about this, because this is very much napkin math. This is just back and forth, a couple of guys standing in front of a whiteboard and just roughing something out and going, oh, what if we did it like this? What if we did it like that? I love that CIG is involving and sharing us at this level of the conversation, because, I think there's a lot of places where we could have saved a lot of time in the development of the game had a certain amount of player input been, and not, God, I gotta say this so carefully. This next part I have to say very, very carefully. There are certain players within the community that CIG actively turns to for opinions and advice. And how do you put it? When a girl asks you, do I look fat in this? No! You don't want to ask the person who's like, no! You want to ask the person, well, I've gotten a little bit bigger. Yeah, maybe we can go for walks in the afternoons or something like that. I don't know. You need someone who's a little bit more honest, and someone who's a little less impressed with the friendship and a little bit more likely to be candid with you. I mean, oftentimes the best friends that you have in the world are the people who don't tell you what you want to hear, are the people that tell you what you need to know, at least in their opinion. And so it's important to not only surround yourself with people who go, yeah, you're great, you're fantastic, but yeah, you could do a little bit better with this. You're kind of a dick. You know, I get told that all the time. It's very healthy. It's very healthy. And so I'm glad that CIG is involving the wider community in this. And I hope that what they realize that there's a lot more value to the input that comes from the wider community than they may like to admit. There have been a lot of mistakes in the development of this game. A lot of time spent spinning tires on things that that are actually problems that have been solved in other games that players have kind of pointed out, only to be shut down by sometimes not even game developers, but other members of the Star Citizen community who just chime in and go like, "Oh, they're game developers. They know what they're doing." And it's like, yes and no, because game developers they're like dungeon masters in Dungeons and Dragons. They know how to design a campaign. They know how to build a campaign, but they don't ever play the campaign from a clean point of view. You know what I mean? Because they already know what's behind the door. They already know what's in the chest. They already know, what the players are going to face. So it's kind of like going to see a movie when you've already seen it. And so it's not really, when you go and see it, if you've directed the movie, you've already kind of seen it, then you already know what's going to happen. So your experience of that film in the movie theater is going to be different than the person who's seeing it for the first time. And players, even though we may be blunt and not the most delicate instruments, we have a lot to say about this. And the truth of it is in as much as you might say, I've been working in game development for 20 years, I know this inside and out. Well, we've been playing games for over 20 years, and we know our shit too. May not say it in the nicest ways, but we do. And so it's good to be involved in the conversation this early on. But just remember, don't get too excited about the skill system as it's been described to us so far, because it is a very light touch incidental skill system as it's being described. And so I don't think that it's going to be a make or break type thing. It's just going to be kind of like a fun little bonus that you build up for being actually good at the game. And so if it is indeed that, and that is how it's intended, cool. It reflects, hey, you're getting a little bit better at taking G's, you've been going to the gym, you've been working out, you can carry a little bit more weight. Cool. Brings the universe more to life. Makes sense. Now, if it does go to the point where it's like, well, I've got to go now make a keyboard macro, and I've got to make my character go do push-ups in Grim Hex for half an hour and then drink some water out of his backpack and eat a little snack so that he doesn't starve to death while he's doing push-ups, and I got to do that for 12 hours a day while I'm at work, then we got to have another conversation about the skill system, because I have seen games where that is the reality in earlier versions of games, and it is the worst.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in the Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.